Hello and welcome to All Things DIY. Let's build a Tensegrety sculpture. If you don't know what that is, just keep watching the video. As a matter of fact, even if you do know what it is, do keep watching the video. So, Tensegrety sculptures, the things that look like they're in the grasp of a different gravitational force coming from outer space that is trying to pull the top of them away from Earth, and they're only being held back by some string, some rope, or some chains. But of course it's all just an optical illusion, and they do follow all of the known laws of physics. But enough talking, let's make one out of this piece of wood here. That's dusty. The design I decided to go for is really straightforward. It's a collection of rectangular pieces of wood, and you'll see later how they're all going to work together. And having made the plans, it's time to get the table saw ready by raising the blade, which is an event that looks like a shark with many fins is appearing out of the water. And then the shark fins go to work, and I chop the piece of wood into smaller pieces of wood. And even more smaller pieces. Now we have a beautiful collection of rectangular pieces of wood of varying lengths, which I then send through the table saw again to make them have square faces. I decided to sort of test assembling it to see if everything makes sense, because I just had the feeling that something wasn't right. And then I noticed that the short pieces should in fact be twice as long. So I created the longer one. And of course, the second one. So now that we have all of our pieces that we need in the right length, we can think about how to fix them together. And since the rest of this project is fairly straightforward, I thought we could get a little fancier with the joinery here. So how about we try some half-lap joints? That is basically where the two pieces of wood that should be fixed together overlap each other by half. Time to submerge the multi-finned shark again a bit. Since the pieces of wood are 18mm thick, I need to cut 9mm away. I used the other piece of wood that's going to be attached as a help to mark up to where the cut needs to go, and notched out the area. But the saw blade leaves some ridges, so a little filing was needed to get it all nice and smooth, and we're ready for a test fit. I think that looks promising. So I proceeded to do that 15 more times. All of the pieces are done now, and I can tell you that took a good while. And in the process, I of course cut the relief on the wrong side of one of these long bits, so it seems like we're going to have enough wrong pieces to build their own Tensegrety sculpture out of by the end of this. But it is now time to glue these together. However, before we do that, I'm going to drill a little hole in these short pieces here so that I can put this hook in. This beechwood is so dense that I can't just twist that in with my hand. These hooks here will hold the string that's going to hold the whole thing together in the end. As you can see, I marked all of the joints so that I know what goes where, and then I started to glue the bits together. And then I ripped them apart again, because I figured that would make sense to put the glue on all the faces that touch. And then I put it all together again. What a lovely collection of little clamped pieces of wood waiting till the glue is dry. There is still a bit of glue residue left on the joints, but that is nothing the disc sander can't take care of. And what we're left with are some beautiful crisp lines. I think this looks fantastic. But we don't have time for beauty shots all day, there are a few more holes to drill. And after yet more sanding, it is finally time for the last glue up. Now let's make sure that we actually glue the right pieces together, because that would be very annoying if that went wrong. And with a bit of sanding and filing, these joints look very nice too. And that means it is time to give these things some colour. While I would love to keep them the way they are and only varnish them, I just don't like the colour of beechwood. I really don't. So we're going to stain it just like everything here, and we're going to use some mahogany stain for that. I've applied 2 coats of stain and sanded in between, which means we're ready for the varnish. This time I thought we could use some oil, so let's see if that works with the stained wood. And dangling from the ceiling for the oil to dry, it looks like an art installation already. The oil is properly cured now and produced a very nice flat shine on the pieces, which I think looks fantastic. It goes very well with the clean and simple geometry of the pieces. And as you can see, I've also put in the hooks already that will hold the string, which means it is time now to suspend the top part. But actually, let me just show you the shine of these pieces again in this bright sunlight, which is offsetting my white balance a bit that is set to the neon tubes in here. But that is so shiny. Anyway, it is now time to suspend the top part, and we're going to use some string for that. Many people like to use see-through nylon string or something like that, so that the top part looks like it is actually floating. But I think part of what makes these things, these Tensegrety sculptures, so strange in appearance is that it looks like the top piece is being held up by string that is not pulled under tension, but string that looks like it's being pushed on, which of course doesn't work. When you push on a string, it collapses. So I decided to use some visible string, and there is a bit of a balance to strike. I don't want it to be too thin so that you can't see it, and I don't want it to be too thick either so that it doesn't look like an actual support. So I figured this white string here is the perfect size. You can still see it and it's not too fat. And in order to help me arrange everything, I created this very crude support structure here, which will hold the top piece in place at the right height, and then I can sort of fiddle the string in and tension everything up so that we end up with a stable Tensegrety sculpture. Yeah, it is in a somewhat stable state now. This actually took a lot longer than what you've just seen because I had to readjust the length of these two strings here to get it somewhat straight, but I think it looks really cool. That's just something very nice about the look of some simple geometric and symmetric shapes, because the top piece here is exactly the same as the bottom piece, just turned upside down. I think this is looking really cool. And you can do some strange stuff with it too. You can lift it up, which feels so strange, and you can even tilt it in one direction. You can't tilt it the other because then it would collapse. And another very strange thing is when you kind of have it in its, well, non-stable state and then just pop it into its balanced state. It's so strange. Yeah, I think this turned out quite nice. Here are a few more close-ups. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the project. I certainly did. Consider subscribing and leaving a like if you enjoyed it. And see you next time.